Hello there, my name's Dan. I'm a bit of a Warhammer uh, veteran slash nerd slash whatever. I keep getting told off for drinking and eating whilst I'm doing these things, so I've got no thing around me that can do that. Anyway, what I wanted to talk about today is Games Workshop doing it again. A lot of people are very upset about this headline and the contents of this article, and I do have every sympathy with them. This happened to us when they got rid of fantasy, and I understand that there are a lot of people who are very upset about stuff being cancelled from Age of Sigmar. This is good news for us in the old world, but there are a few sort of very salty people on Twitter saying stuff like, I hope the old world, burns and collapses or whatever like it did last time. I don't, but Games Workshop have, to anybody who's surprised that Games Workshop have at the contents of this article, right, really need to cast their mind back to when they first launched Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar killed off Warhammer Fantasy, and a lot of people who liked fantasy were very upset. And essentially, Games Workshop brought in Age of Sigmar deliberately to kill off fantasy, and now they've brought it back in a I would argue an improved format. There's a lot that's better about this game than 8th and 6th. 7th wasn't really an addition. There's a lot. There's a few elements that are worse than 8th and 6th. For instance, character restrictions. I'd like us to go back to one lord and one lord level hero and heroes, and possibly fewer points to be spent on heroes, so there's more army and fewer heroes. It's just my personal preference. I don't know whether that's anyway. So let's have a look at this article. Basically, these it's a sad but necessary truth that certain miniatures are leaving the range. Necessary. I mean, it's not necessary. All of it's unnecessary. It's a hobby. Anyway. We have to stop producing and featuring some old models. I mean, plastic, yeah, they do. I mean, metal and resin, they can basically cast on demand. So all of that, they could keep every single model that they've got on plastic, on resin and metal. They could bump up the price a little bit and have them always available, and just basically made on demand. It might take some time for us to get them for you, because as soon as you order it, that's when the process begins. Now, if they had a better point of sale, back office, order management system, then they could quite easily do that. So that's, but the plastic, because you have to cast them, quite a lot of sprues, these aren't really things that can be made to order. So yeah, I get it. There's some interesting choices in here, and I know this isn't old world related, however, yeah, old Warcry warbands will go off sale and enter Legends. They've only just so basically they're getting rid of Warcry as well. Is that what this is? I quite like Warcry as a game. I think he's all right. We'll have a look at that in a sec, actually. Well, I will anyway, because I might want to buy some before they disappear. So this is all your Stormcast. Now, I've got lots of Stormcasts because I've got the weird magazine thing, and that's basically all of this. Errant Questor is an interesting one, because that's the one that you can only get at Lenton, I think. That's the like limited edition. It's the only, you know, you can only get that if you go to Warhammer World. So why they've got rid of that, I don't know. I think that's one of the cool things about Warhammer World. They've got like exclusive miniatures for, you know, for going there, like the Command Rhino and stuff like that. Evos on Dracolines. I think I've got 9 of them actually. I don't know why, but I've ended up with about 15 Evocators. So all of these are going off sale, and I don't know. I don't think I can use any of this in the old world, to be honest. I can't really do much with these models. They're just gonna have to go in a box in an attic until, you know, for about 10 years, and then they'll be worth loads probably. A lot of Skavens going off now. Skaven aren't now. Actually, we'll come back to Skaven. Bone Splitters are going off. It's just leaving the range. They don't say anything about that. With the arrival of Dark Oath, the Slaves to Darkness have finally found their definitive mortal followers. I think the thing was managing the rules for all of these like war bands was really difficult in terms of like game balance, and some of them like Splintered Fang were brilliant, and others were just like Horns of Hashut were awful in AOS, and Cypher Lords, like they never did them justice. But why they've taken them off? I mean, actually, let's. Oh my god. This is all online only, isn't it? So, where's Last Chance to Buy? There it is. Last Chance to Buy. What have we got in here? Radakar's Court. Beast Lord, Clan Rats, all the stuff that's going. The Blue Scribes are being retired, as is the Flux Master. Oh, that's it. So none of the Warcry warbands. So they are leaving them like as a bit of a fantasy version of Necromunda. Then maybe that's. It's not as good as Necromunda, to be honest, but. And the big news is that Beasts of Chaos, but the Beastmen are returning to the old feeding grounds of the world. So they've actually explicitly stated here that Beastmen, we're basically, I mean, they're all pretty much off sale already. I've been trying to get some Dragon Ogres for about 2 months, and, you know, they've been off sale for ages. So they're basically, they're off sale, and they're being boxed up and repackaged for the old world, which actually likely means there'll be more miniatures in a box, so you'll have boxes with larger numbers of miniatures in, and per miniature the cost will likely be cheaper. That's essentially how the pricing models work. The old world tends to have bigger units that are cheaper per model. Some other models are also going off sale and receiving. So going off sale means we're not selling them. It doesn't mean like here where they've said Beasts of Chaos will be going in old world. These are just going off sale, which is a massive shame because I really like the old Dreicher model. I think it's brilliant. I really hoped they'd do a new model for Valkyria, because like she's so cool, like as a character and thematically, although Valkyria is definitely in the old world. So why they kept her for, you know, Age of Sigmar, I don't know, because she was mortal, like she wasn't, you know, so at the end times she should have died, like same with Scylla, you know, he's or should it be Scylla, anyway, I always pronounce the SC as like one of them silent. Madcap Shaman's going off as well, and, you know, so on and so forth. Don't forget to head over Last Chance to Buy. Well, I've just clicked on that and there's nothing there. Last Chance to Buy. Didn't I just click on that? Yeah, so Savage Aurochs. This is, I mean, these are interesting that they're not saying that we're going to repackage these up for like the old world, because there are rules for Savage Orcs in the old world. So that's a bit weird. I don't really get that. No, I mean, what they like to do with Age of Sigmar is have boxes like this with like 5 models in for about 40 quid. That's their like these ladies that I've started and ages ago and not got around to finishing. I started a Sisters of Battle Army a while ago, and I got to 2,000 points, and then they put the points all down in a bloody errata or something, or whatever they call it, and then I then built up to 2,000 points again. By buying those ladies basically, and another rhino, painted the rhino, started on them, and then they did another bloody FAQ when my 2,000 went down to 1,800 again. So I'm like, I just give up. I'm never going to get to 2,000 points. It seems they're just going to keep making the army bigger. But yeah, there's definitely no war cry in here. It says 24 of 24, so there's a lot on there that they say is going, as in it's going to be last chance to buy, but it isn't. Okay, but all of this Beastman stuff, well, I mean, it doesn't say what's happening to the Herdstone and the Endless. I really hope the Endless Spells stay on sale, because I love those models. I think they're great, and if I knew that these were going off sale, I'd buy loads of them just for the crows. Like the crow Endless Spell is brilliant because you can stack it and make like a massive flock of crows. I had an idea for a thing a while ago, and actually that fiery thing you could use for something, like, I really don't know what, but I'm sure there's like a use. You could call it, I don't know, what could you call it? I don't know, Jabberslithe or a cockatrice, or maybe a different monster from a different fact. I don't bloody know, but so yeah, that's what they do. So going back to the Skaven, remember a while ago they said that the scope of the project has expanded, because essentially the old world, everything sells out straight away. GW is very happy with this, and they said the scope of the project is expanding. Skaven are getting a bit of a run out in Age of Sigmar, and they're getting rid of all the old metal models. Basically, these are all the old metal models and clan rats. Interestingly, so if we look at the Skaven range that's staying in, for God's sakes. If we're looking at I hate this new shop website. It's so rubbish. Chaos Skaven. So clan rats are going. That Vanguard box is going. So there's obviously going to be a new Vanguard box. So they've kept the Bombardier because he's plastic. They've kept the Endless Spells and the Screaming Bell and stuff. You've got Storm Fiends, Hell Pits. A Plague Monk staying then? Plague Priest is going, but Plague Monks are staying. Horrible little models. Like, really, really boring to put together and paint. I when I did Skaven last time round, I had 20 of them, and or a box. It was a box 20 when I can't remember, but I just so frustrating. Yeah, so these are at Plague Priests. Did they say Plague Censer Bearers are going as well? Yeah, they're going as well. The Warlock Engineers, they're basically just getting rid of all the metal models, aren't they? Did they say Stormvermin are going? I thought they were plastic, actually, aren't they? 10 multi-pot plastic. Yeah. Why are they getting rid of them, then? That's curious. Because, like, it's not financial, right? So when you go to a store, I don't know whether it's still true, but it used to be true that the box that the models come in costs GW more than the contents of the box. So actually, if somebody's stealing a box, it's best to just get the box back itself and give away the plastic inside, right? It's probably not true anymore, but the point is, this stuff costs way less than it sells for, right? To GW. There's a lot of layers in between the base cost of the materials and the production and all the rest than how much you pay for it. And we'll talk about wide moats in a bit. But, yeah. So, I reckon what they're doing here is they're moving stuff over to. I think Skaven are coming back to the old world. I know they're a legacy faction at the moment, but all of this could, these are clan rats are plastic, stormvermin are plastic. Like, it's conceivably possible that they could get rid of a few of the other little hoardy bits of Skaven, and essentially Skaven become like a more monstrous version of itself. With vermin lords and grey seers on screaming bells and storm fiends and little assassins running around and weird contraptions and all that kind of stuff, and less of the kind of they've got night runners are apparently staying for now, but who knows. Rat ogres, giant rats and pack masters, are they rat ogres and giant? Yeah, so that box is going, even though that's plastic, isn't it? I think these are plastic, aren't they? Plastic. What? They're supplied with square bases and round bases. So, like, I don't know whether that's always been true, actually, because I've never looked at that box before, but they've got square bases in. So maybe we're getting Skaven coming back to the old world. Maybe that's going to be, this is the scope of the project expanding. This is what it looks like. I really hope that they keep the bone splitters for... Right. Anyway, let's talk about wide moats. So, how can they get away with it? Well, they've done it before, and they got away with it. They got away with it because people who were playing 8th, some people started a project to do some rules for 9th. And people who wanted to keep playing 8th just kept playing 8th because they had the models already, they had the rules, they had the army books. They could just keep playing, keep playing. You still had the rules. You weren't forced to play Age of Sigmar. So... and Age of Sigmar has been a success to them because it's a game that sells starter boxes. You see, Games Workshop have this obsession with selling starter boxes. So, like, one of the core KPIs of any store manager at GW is the sale of the starter boxes, which is why it's the big display on the entrance to the store. When you walk into the store, it's the big display because that's what they want to sell, right? The stuff that's really obvious and hitting you in the face is the stuff that a shelf wants to sell you, right? It's it's eyeline type stuff. It's eyeline type stuff, and on tills it's grabby stuff. So, like, anything that people can grab that's around a till. So just something that somebody can grab and chuck on the till. And eyeline stuff is like the premium product that they want to sell you on the shelves. So, your average person is a lot shorter than me. I'm 6'1", so your average person is like 5'7", 5'8", something like that. And obviously they're selling to kids as well. So their eyeline range is basically like the middle shelves. Not the stuff at the top or the bottom shelf, but kind of like the shelves in the middle. So you'll see like the shelf one up from the bottom. They want kids to be picking those boxes up and saying, "Dad, can I have these?" And the next shelf up, that's for kind of teenagers, and the next shelf up, that's for adults, basically. So that's how they'll have designed their shelves for selling. Like, it's not down to store managers where they put stuff in their shelf. They get a shelf design. This is like every single supermarket does this as well. Like, I know when I used to work in Netto's, we had store. We had like store. You have like shelf design, so it tells you where to put all the products. And somebody's thought that through. So retail theory is quite well developed, and it works. So anyway, the point I'm getting to is the starter boxes are like the KPI, because if somebody buys a starter box, that's somebody new into the hobby, and that means somebody that's going to come back and buy other stuff because they've just started. They haven't, they're not established. They haven't bought all the models. They haven't filled all their like hobby space with like models that they've already got. They haven't bought all the paints already. Like, me going into a store, right, I have all the paints pretty much. I've already paid for all the paints. I have loads and loads of miniatures to paint at the moment. I've just started getting back into Old World because of this latest release, and I've been a bit knackered over the last few weeks because of various I've started playing rugby again. I say again, I mean, I played a few games at school, which was about 20 odd years ago now. So I've started, in fact, just ignore that. I've started playing rugby. So at nearly the age of 40, which is possibly a stupid idea. But anyway, it's quite a lot of fun, actually. I quite like getting tackled. And being nearly 130 kilos and quite strong, I should be good for it. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, what Games Workshop can get away with this because they have wide moats. And what I mean by wide moats is it's a business term, right? It's an investment term. And a company that has wide moats, essentially, there's no competition that can touch them. So they can do what they like. They can do what they like, more or less, with prices. They can do more or less what they like in terms of business operations. They can be terrifically abusive to their customers. And to be honest, this announcement needed to be made at some point, and is now as good a time as any, possibly. The thing is, whenever they make the thing that you got to think about is whenever they make this kind of announcement, they know that somebody has literally just bought a box of whatever from somewhere, right? So they know that somebody's just wasted some money, on miniatures that they will never probably never use. Like, my Stormcast army is literally more or less all this stuff. Like, I've bought it, I've built it, I've painted it, I've never played a game with it, and now never will. So that's great of them, isn't it? They're not doing things like getting rid of the Dracolines though, which is like, they're like some of the derpiest models they've got, but apparently they're staying. Whatever. So that's, so they've got wide moat. So I mean, could they have timed this better? I mean, what would have been better is if they'd have like essentially stopped producing these so that they basically went off sale naturally, like months and months and months ago. So essentially they sold all the stock around the world and then made the announcement saying we're not getting these back in stock anymore because they're being withdrawn, right? So that way people can buy them if they want the models, but because what they don't want to do, because again it's a business, what they don't want to do is they don't want to say, oh, we're going to withdraw these so you'll never be able to play with them again, and then have loads of them in stores, because then they'll have too much stock in stores, they'll have to get recycled and destroyed, and it's just a waste. It's a waste of carbon, it's a waste of money. So, they've got to be sensible about this. I don't know whether they did, because I've not been keeping an eye on these models. Apart from the Beast of Chaos stuff, actually, I've been trying to buy Beasts bits and bobs for months and not being able to. Like, ever since Fantasy came out, I've wanted Shaggoth and Dragon Ogres. I hate the Shaggoth model, but the rules for it are great, so I wanted one. But I've just not been able to get one since the Old World dropped. So this is why, because they're being all repackaged up and put in put on square bases. So that's gone for now. I mean, they could just have the same box and oh my god. Sorry, I just remembered my local store manager said, if you want some Dragon Ogres, I've got some in this box. And I'm like, No, not to spend 90 quid for 3 Dragon Ogres. But actually, that's not bad value because like individual Dragon Ogres are selling on eBay for about 40 quid each at the moment. It's like you can sell 3 of them for like 110, 120. So actually, I probably should have just bought all the boxes they've got and then put the Dragon Ogres up for sale. Apart from the 3 that I want. Yeah, these endless spells, those crows are fantastic. Yeah. But I mean, this has all been... It looks like the stuff that's going has been sold out online for like... In fact, I think all the stuff that they're withdrawing is or was online only. There's a last chance to buy on the Beast Lord. This was the new model that they dropped. And I suppose the other thing that's making people really salty is like it was only like last year when they dropped this new Beast Lord model and said Beasts of Chaos are here to stay. We're not going anywhere. They're staying in Age of Sigmar. And then like literally a few months later they're like, actually, nah. And I do feel really sorry for people who are passionately into beasts, and you know they do offer an interesting dynamic in Age of Sigmar in that they're the only like proper ambushy faction. You know, I think they're bringing Malarian back to Age of Sigmar with like some, I don't know, like Kalineth or whatever they call the Ineth elves or whatever. I mean, I don't really care, but I think, you know, that's what they're doing. So the ambush dynamic will be filled by that faction, sort of shadowy elves, essentially dark elves, but Age of Sigmar. I really hoped actually that they'd give a bit of love to beasts, and like especially new Bulgors, because these are honking models. I mean, they're just absolutely ridiculous. Zangor obviously staying in Age because these are in the Tzeentch faction, so Tzeentch have Zangors still, so they're staying. But the rest of it, online only, Centaurs you can get. Cool. So I don't really know how to end this bit really, other than I am really sorry for anybody who's collected. Oh, Judicases! I've got like 20 of those. I've actually painted them as well. I mean, I don't really care because I'm not playing Age of Sigmar anymore, but, you know, still, it's just nice to know that you could have used your models at some point if you really wanted to, but no. So that's the news. That's what I wanted to talk about, really. It's, even though it says last chance to buy, and I'm like, I'd definitely go for a Scylla and a that if it was actually on there, but it's not. I'd probably actually go for an Eternity Warden. In fact, yeah, if these were actually on last chance, and actually Mistweaver Sai, if that was a model that was available, and probably no, I don't need Valkyr because I've kit bashed one. I've just never got around to painting it. Her, they, whatever. Her. Yeah. So that's the news from Age of Sigmar. I mean, like I said, I think this means that they're going Skaven and not going to be a legacy, because when they say the scope of the project has expanded, right, they've got a load of legacy factions. Just bring them back. You know, they don't need to do Cathay and Kislev. You know, even though they've said that they're going to do Cathay and Kislev at some point, they don't have to. You know, I mean, nobody's really expecting them to do Cathay and Kislev in this first year. It'd be nice if they do, but it's not going to happen, is it? So that gives them basically a year, you know. I mean, if you look at the timetable, actually, so they've released Bretonnia and Tomb Kings at the end of January. 3 months later, this weekend, in fact, tomorrow, we get Orcs and Goblins. You know, look, they've started to tease the Dwarven stuff. So if you had a look at when they started to tease the Orcs, they started to tease the Orcs actually when the Old World actually dropped, didn't they? It was more or less at the same time the Old World dropped. Was it in there? No, I can't remember exactly when, but it was basically when the old world dropped, wasn't it? That they started. There we go. So 20th of Jan. So from the 20th of January, which was the day that the old world was released, to now, so 3 months later, they teased the orcs. 3 months later, we've got the orcs. So they started to tease these guys in March. I think maybe 2 months. They need to get the production lines on top of it. But yeah, maybe 2 months. March, April, May, we'll see dwarves. They said they're doing, how many factions have they done? 7 factions that they've released so far. They said they're going to do the 7 over the next year or two, so they can just tag stuff like Skaven, and it gives them time to get everything sorted. But they can tag stuff like Skaven onto the end of it. So yeah, I think we're looking at quite an extended timescale with everything coming out. I mean, but it's still like supply is still a bit of a problem. Like if you look at Tomb Kings of Khemri, I bet now everything's going to be available. No, I mean still Screaming Skull catapults out of stock. Tomb Scorpions out of stock. Ushabti, quite a lot of stuff is out of stock. For Tomb Kings, I'm presuming Bretonia looks pretty similar. Stuff at the bottom will be out of stock. Loads of Bretonia out of stock, like a ridiculous amount out of stock for Bretonia still. So still not sorted out the supply lines there. What about orcs and goblins? Out of stock, out of stock, out of stock. All of it, including that one. And that's the one that I'll get, and I'll do a video on that when it's available. There's a pre-order available to download from 6th of April, so we'll be able to download that tomorrow and do... I won't be able to do a video on it because I'm going to a tournament. But that's just a bit of news that I've encountered and my thoughts as to, what's coming next. I genuinely think Skaven are coming back to the old world. I genuinely think, because Skaven are so iconic, they're so cool. It would make sense for them to bring like Skaven back, because they're definitely there in the time frame that the old world's in. So why wouldn't they? And especially if they've got all these models, all these casts lying around. I mean, I think the one thing that the old world has shown us is that they've not thrown anything away. That they've kept all those old, molds and all the rest. They've all been in storage. They've not destroyed anything. So, in fact, they've kept molds for models that they've not even released. So, I think there's a good opportunity for them to bring back a load of factions that they've said that they're not going to support. And that's what I think they mean by the scope of the project has expanded. It's not that we're going to see new Kislev and new, we're not going to see new Kislev and new Cathay for a very long time. I think years we're looking at, because we've got Age of Sigmar, this year, new edition of Age of Sigmar this year, probably a new faction for Age of Sigmar next year. Year after that, it'll be 40k again, and maybe year after that we get some Kislev or Cathay. So over that period of time, we've got a lot of years of them essentially just re-releasing everything. So there's no rush to get your collection completed. We're not going to be inundated with stuff to buy. In fact, we're not even inundated with stuff to buy because they can't even make the frickin' things that we want to buy in the first place. Do you know what, Games Workshop, actually, if anybody from those listening, like, for crying out loud, like, just make the things. Just make the things. People really want to buy it, right? The one thing you can do, right, you've got one job, and that's to make miniatures, right? And that's what you are as a company. You're a miniature manufacturer. You've got a big factory in Nottingham. You just opened another one. Just make the goddamn miniatures. Like, it's not that difficult, right? they've not even got like the Casket of Souls up for sale yet. They've not got all the characters for the old world up for sale. We don't really know what's going on with like they haven't confirmed. Like, and comms at Warhammer Community is just the most useless promotional tool I think of for a company I've come across. It's like, what are you talking about? Why can't you just why can't we just have a bit of clarity every now and again? Like, I don't like ranting about Games Workshop because I know they're a company, they're a corporation, and so, like all big corporations, almost everything they say is lies. This is advertising. Advertising is almost always lies. So, I don't know why I'm believing it's a bit of it, but this is how the world turns nowadays. But so I mean, when I say clarity, I mean if you're saying that we're going to withdraw clan rats and stormvermin, right? But we've got 2 other plastic kits in plague monks and gutter runners. Are plague monks and gutter runners actually staying? Or because you need to say that, right? You need to say that out loud, that we are continuing the gutter runners, and because it does look a bit odd. It's like just have a bit more thought before you pump something out. But those are just my thoughts. If you think that brain dead advertising is a good thing, let me know in the comments. But anyway, thanks for listening. If you're still listening, you may wish to subscribe, and I promise most of the time I'm talking about stats, meta, lists, interesting stuff about playing the old world, and not ranting at Games Workshop, because it's a total waste of time. They don't listen. They don't care about you. They don't care about the fans. They've made that abundantly clear on multiple occasions over many, many years. Sadly, well, no, not sadly. I think, a lot of people across the world really care about this product. And I can't remember whether I actually released that video or not. I've tried to do a few shed talks, and I've just got a bit too political on them, so I've just sort of canned them rather than actually publish them. But a franchise is owned not by the company that owns the legal rights. So there's a difference between legality and morality, right? And legality is not morality, right? It's just clear the air. Ask any lawyer, is the law moral? No, it's not at all. The law is the law. It's not moral. So legality and morality, different things. So the legal owner of an intellectual property such as this is Games Workshop PLC. Absolutely no question. Obviously they own the IP. That's what they do. And if you try and steal it, they will sue you. And that's fine. Like, that's what all of this down here is telling you. This is the legal demise of all the information in this website, right? Now, who's the moral owner of the intellectual property? Is it the person who made it? Is it the person who read it? Are the fans of this or something else, like The Witcher, for instance, are the fans? Do they really own the IP? Like, morally, do they own the IP? The whole ethics of who actually owns an intellectual property. Like, the legal ownership, that's beyond question, right? Somebody's registered, put them name down somewhere to say, this is mine. This is my intellectual property. But intellectual property exists in the mind, right? And you can't own what... You can legally own what exists in somebody's mind, but you can't actually own what exists in somebody's mind. So the moral owners of the IP are you, me, and everybody else who's loves this setting, right? And the thing is, like, you can tell that a lot of this, especially looking at the army books, there's a lot of passion that goes into these projects. Like, there's a lot of all the artwork, all the like, even something simple like, well, it's not simple actually, it's quite hard photographing miniatures, but like somebody from the design studios painted these guys and probably had a bit of a chuckle while doing it. You know, somebody's like made all the, like, if you just look at the pictures, somebody's done that scenery, somebody's positioned all that, somebody's taken a photo of it, somebody's designed that logo to be sympathetic to Age of Sigmar and 40k, you know, the two main brands. You know, there's so much love. There's somebody's put a background there saying, "Oh, we need a bit of a stormy." You know what I mean? There's so much love, care, and attention. I love the green bases. Anyway, there's so much love, care, and attention that's gone into all of this, right? And it shines through. And then there's Games Workshop PLC that just own it legally and cream a load of money off of it. And the fans and the content creators who make all the content on like Warhammer Community and all the rest, you know, I mean, I know I've had a bit of a rant about them, but like they probably don't even know, do they? That's the thing. But anyway, I'm going to shut up now. But thanks for listening. I did that thing where I nearly said goodbye and then I didn't. That's 10 minutes of me trying to say goodbye. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I've got a tournament this weekend, so I shall be reporting back about that on Monday. Or I might do a quick report tomorrow night. I don't know. Anyway, toodaloo.